SmashFactor.
Ripping driver, going for it. Oh my goodness. How about that tee shot?
That is crazy how far that is.
Wow. John Daly, take a back seat, big fella. How about that drive?
That's an aggressive line. Man, that is beyond long.
Look at this, he's just driven the green. He has just driven the green.
I guess hello world, huh?
Welcome everybody to the SmashFactor 2020 edition of the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, episode 97, coming to you from a beautiful, warm San Antonio. Not quite as nice as Arizona was this weekend, but very nice weather to return to. A long day, a long weekend. Get into that kind of recap here in a minute. But, obviously we'll wrap up waste management, Super Bowl thoughts quickly on that. Looking to have a fairly quick pod tonight with, hadn't seen my family since Wednesday, so I need to, or Thursday, whatever day it was, need to catch up with them. And then also, it's just one of those tournaments that we've had now. We got a break last week, got a real tournament, and now we're back to a 3-course rotation, 54 cut, the true Pro-Am, where we get some of the real amateurs, more famous celebrity type amateurs. So not favorite tournament of the week or the year by any means. From a DFS perspective, as far as watching and all that, I don't necessarily mind it, but lots of variables into it. Normally some weather conditions, although right now looks pretty decent. Last year we even had to go heat map route as I was reviewing my notes on the plane today, but still looking forward to it. We'll get into that. Obviously last week, went to the waste management with Tambo, had an awesome time. Had some business stuff on Thursday, Friday. So we went out there Saturday, and Sunday. It was I don't know where I'm at, because there's probably two sides of the table here. There's like, the smart golf bets, Mike Miller, like he's like way anti this. And then maybe more millennial, younger like it. I enjoy the Honda because it's kind of a little more, I wouldn't say party atmosphere, but lighter atmosphere for people like myself and some of the guys I hang out with. Obviously, many of you. But this was a little crazy, especially Saturday. Even for me, it was close to 300,000 people. Just so many people in one area that, as a person that actually enjoys, I mean, if you're there for the theatrics of it all, as far as the beer and the girls flashing all over the place and throwing stuff I get it, it's a cool event. If you really enjoy watching golf and be able to walk the course with these guys, it can be kind of hectic, especially obviously around 16, 17, all that, just with all those people there. I will say Sunday was a little calmer, especially, overall there was more energy, I think, because people weren't there from 6 a.m. on, the crazy guys that run it. I don't think they had to go that early, because even when we got there 10-ish, maybe 9:30-ish on Sunday, there were still spots open in the general mission 16 area that people could get to. So it wasn't like Saturday where it was just full busting at the seams from 6 a.m. on. It was a bucket list deal that I'm glad I did and enjoyed. The guys we were sitting with Sunday even said, they've been doing it for years, and they almost go like Thursday, nice, calm, relaxed. You get to see more pros play, obviously, because it's pre-cut. They don't even go Friday and Saturday anymore. It's just too crazy. And then they'll come back Sunday and watch it. And Friday, Saturday, they may go play golf or do whatever, and then watch it Sunday and then head out to their Super Bowl party. So I could see that being a thing. I enjoyed it overall. It was a good event, good kind of bucket list type item, but definitely looking forward to a Honda or, some of the other tournaments I've been to that more enjoyable for the golf viewing, but that environment's hard to replace. And it's a unique deal. So I would always tell someone, hey, go to it, enjoy it, and get their opinion. But I don't think it's something I would like put on my list. I got to go to every year. I think if you have a strategy, I know Melinda, she's on the team, like they come in a certain time, they do the run, they have fun, they go Saturday and they're out. Right. And so that, as long as you do that, I can't imagine going there and wanting to stay there all 4 days. It'd just be, exhausting and wear you out, especially with the sun. If you're not, I'm in San Antonio, so we do still get warm weather now, but like Tambo, I'm sure he's, looks like a fried lobster tonight. But all that was great. Super Bowl was awesome. We just 4 of us sitting at a table, some buddies watching it. I'm interested to kind of watch it without all the craziness going on as far as people cheering and all that. Cause I heard a lot of the commercials were good. We could see the halftime show, obviously, but you couldn't hear much in general. So I got to record it so I can watch back the whole Super Bowl deal. Obviously, successful day with the Chiefs. Mahomes 20-1. Second half points over first half points. I think the national anthem finally lost. So Mrs. Gup lost the streak. She was 9-0-1, I think, going into it, and so 9-1-1 now. But other than that, I know I had a successful day overall. I threw 2 halftime bets out, 2 stars at once. Football did well. I think golf did okay. I haven't recapped all that yet. Way behind on that, but betting wise, I think it did okay. Obviously, didn't have the winner up there, but had some decent props. We hit the playoff that paid 3-1, so that was good. I'll recap all that obviously here the next day or so and get it out there. DK wise, only did 3 lineups and we couldn't do showdown, obviously being out in Phoenix, so didn't engage much there. Try to get in Slack or whatever, and D-Rock and actually everybody in the Slack, Kenny, those guys, everybody helped out there, but not being able to do it was a little distant. But I think I had 4 guys or 3 or 4 guys in my pool either finish even or +1 or went from +1 to even. And then that cut moved right back to -1 and put it right. I think at T66 was a cut. Obviously, I didn't know if I'd done well, even if the 89 or whatever it would have been made the cut. Because then everybody would have been probably 30% 6 of 6s at that number. So I can't say if I would have had it, I would have done well. But I did have Finau and called him as a guy I liked a lot, and he was low owned. I know Tambo had some major sweats Sunday coming down the stretch, and he needed Finau to win. And when Webb won, it kind of knocked him out of any big money, but I think he finished just slightly under for the whole deal. But good tournament. A lot of guys made great runs on Sunday, so I was exciting. Like the leaderboard kind of flipped, like some of us really wanted it to. Obviously Webb was still right there in Finau, but Bubba made a run. JT even kind of backdoor maybe top 5. I don't remember it, but definitely top 10. Benyon stumbled a little bit. X stumbled a little bit. So it's kind of, it wasn't just stagnant up there on Sunday. So it was exciting. But looking forward to this week, move on. And actually I'm ready for this week, but I'm ready to be past it because then we got a really nice stretch of solid golf tournaments, pretty good fields, the Genesis, the WGC Mexico coming up, some good tournaments coming up, but one step at a time. But we will kick off the show sponsor for the 2020 season is Super Draft, as always. Really amping up their game. We're seeing a lot of green screens in the community. Not only that, throughout DFS in general, I think it's really picking up a little bit. You can use the code GUT, get $10 bonus play when you deposit your first $10, put that 20 in play, and once you're done, you're done. If you flip it, you double it right there that first day, you can pull it out and you're good to go. Or you can keep playing it as much as you want. All of our tools and stuff and content are integrated with the Super Draft site, as well as DraftKings and FanDuel and Spot. So you will be able to see live Super Draft scoring just like you do DraftKings on our tools and the PGA Research Center. And D-Rock covers the content side for the golf as well. So, obviously being a member with us helps, but, gives you an advantage. And then in the Slack and everything, people talk about, additional strategies and still trying to comprehend how it plays out, being the multiplier instead of the salary type deal. So a different way to play the game. If you want to check, especially if you're a newer guy, it's a little bit less, especially smaller fields, so you can kind of have better chances and then try to work strategies, especially everybody's kind of new to it, instead of, jumping into the sharks over on DK sometimes. Not that DK is bad. We all play and we're still involved in that, but this is just another, you could almost use it as your cash game stuff instead of DK if you wanted to do that, for instance. Listeners only, use the code SMASH10, get 10% off any package right now. So you can go check that out. The PGA Research Center update is going out either late tonight or in the morning on the plane. And then even tonight, I was doing some final testing for ADHD as he is flying back from a trip he was on as well. So he's going to get that locked and loaded. Final few tweaks, and worst case, the big update will be out tomorrow. And I think you guys are going to love it. I can't wait to get their feedback this week, because there's been a lot of work into this major kind of big first update of the UI experience. So I'm looking forward to you guys seeing that tomorrow at the latest. So now's a great time to join as well with that code, as we have kind of the PGA Research Center full-fledged going with this update. It's going to make it a massive user experience flow a lot better. I promise you. I used it today for, soup to nuts type of deal. And it's amazing how all the differences it is compared to what we have now. And I mean, our first product's only been out, a month. So it's not like we haven't been working and to already improve it. So I think you guys will like that, and then see, okay, they are going to continue putting into this, and they still are, and they are now. So that's exciting. Go ahead and give us feedback on that in the live premium tools channel, or just me or on the golf or ADHD or myself. DM us if you got questions, concerns, updates as that thing rolls out tomorrow. Appreciate your patience on that. Be sure to visit the gupscorner.com store. Always have our new merchandise in there, as well as our HV3 shirts that we are using that to raise funds for that foundation this year. So all our profits that we make off of that will go to them at the end of the year, or whenever we sell the shirts. Hopefully, sooner we sell them out, the better. So help us out there. This week, as I mentioned, is the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. As always, you can go check out the Fantasy DGM podcast with both my brothers over there, Kenny, Kim, and Tambo. Kenny goes in depth into the course preview, so I steer away from that, stick with what I know best, and then allows me to get to a few other things while those guys handle that. And Kenny does an amazing job. Anyways, the quick version is, like I said, you got Pebble Beach, Spyglass Hill, Monterey Peninsula, all shorter courses. Monterey is a par 71, the other a par 72, all under 7,000 yards. This is a 156-man field, 3-course event, 54-hole cut, but it is top 60 in ties. And I confirmed that earlier, because it was always top 60, and I was wondering if they were going to adhere to the new top 65 that the PGA has now, or if they're just going to, but they're going to keep it top 60 because they still have they still have like top 20 or 25 amateurs play on Sunday. That's kind of the final. If you remember, Paul Casey and his amateur, I believe, won the Pro-Am portion last year, where Phil beat Paul on Monday in the because the darkness went out, and they finished the tournament on Monday morning. So it is top 60. So you'll get 3 rounds with your guys, but it'll be a tighter cut, probably a smaller cut percentage than we're used to, but normal for this event, because could potentially lose 90 guys come Sunday. So far on weather, it's cooler mornings, mid 40s, not getting too high up in temperature, but really light to moderate winds right now. Some north winds, kind of common from what I looked at on the 5-year history. No real rain as of now, which is good. There is a little more wind right now creeping up Saturday and into Sunday. And normally it doesn't matter because the cut's on Friday nights, and we're not worried about the wind on Saturday. And it's kind of hard to predict that. But as we get closer to Wednesday, if Saturday looks to be really tough, then we could have some potential decisions to make, on the sense that typically, the main networks want to have the better golfers, quote unquote, ending their 3-day rotation on Saturday, and they'll play just like we had 2 weeks ago. So they'll probably play, most of those guys will play Pebble Saturday, and then whoever makes the cut Sunday. So we'll kind of, in my rankings and stuff, and I'll put them out either late tonight or tomorrow. I'll have the 3-course rotation, and you kind of see that. It's not enough wind for me to change anything. And even if it stays where it's at, it really doesn't matter to me, because I'm really going to just look at the breaks like we have before. And you kind of know that who's starting out on the easier courses compared to the others, and we'll just take it from there. There's so many variables that I think we learned 2 weeks ago. It's not worth it to overanalyze it, but especially in Showdown with the way it is now, we may be able to have some advantages there. And the guys that have access to books that allow first round leader on X course, sometimes we can have advantage there. And if you have a book that allows first round leader and the course doesn't matter, then you can definitely take advantage of it there. So overall, there's some strategy parts, and especially in the betting side, I'll have a lighter card like I did a few weeks ago, probably more long shots because I don't want to lose those numbers. one or two up top guys, maybe a middle or so, and then we'll wait because we can get good numbers. And I'm sure you'll hear that in the industry, depending on, the books. If you have access to live betting, of course, the books won't catch up to some of these guys based on course rotation, and we can strike some good numbers there. So we always keep that in mind. I do try to take into account guys that may not have live betting. So I still try to put out a somewhat normal card because I don't want to short them. And what I may do this week, if I don't really have a full card, is said, hey, if you don't have live betting, these are guys I'd probably go ahead and lock in as well on top of the card I had, since you can't take advantage of anything throughout the week. So I'll address that in the write up once I get to that. I have a cut projection probably around -1 or so this week. I think it's going to play a little easier than it has, and especially different than last year. Last year was definitely some wind and weather concerns, and some guys got the bad end of the draw, so on and such for that. Right now, I don't think we're going to see that as much. So I do like that, and I may not pay as much attention to 2019 results as I would some of the other years, but in general, I kind of look at those in a tournament like this to see who's played these, who's comfortable, who's used to playing 7-hour rounds with amateurs, especially celebrity ones who aren't necessarily, 2 weeks ago, you had guys that, although they're not celebrities, most of the guys that show up and play in this, they probably are a decent golfer, which doesn't make it any better. But like, some of these guys could just be god awful golfers. Not that it's much better, but I think these even tend to play a little longer because of the celebrity factor. So they really have to be used to that kind of deal. And I got the winning score being around -18. Prior winners here are Phil, Ted Potter, with the epic. It wasn't really epic Sunday, but he, fended off DJ that day. Everybody thought DJ had it bagged up. That was a four-way. DJ fell back to a four-way second place with Phil again, Jason Day, who has great history here. Spieth won it in 17 over Kelly Craft. Von Taylor won it in 16 over Phil again. Snedeker won it in 15 over Watney. Walker won it over DJ. Snedeker over Kirk. Phil over Charlie Wee. DA points. DJ in 10 and 9. So you kind of see some pretty familiar names there, and not really a brand of a player per se, but it seems like guys are used to this event, used to the whole deal, seem to contend a lot more. Days up there a lot. Phil, obviously DJ. Walker pops pretty good. A little bit of form, although he clapped Sunday. So we'll factor that kind of general around how have they been here historically, because it seems like you get that or you get a random guy like DA points, Von Taylor, but Von's come on to be pretty solid in general, and obviously Ted Potter, but he's kind of, he's not disappeared since then, but the high end guys can seem to win it, and we'll kind of focus on that, and that's going to be one of the big breaking points to start the week at is where does everybody go up top? Do they go DJ, or they just drop down, save some salary, maybe Cantley, something like that? We'll get into that. Stats for me, I'm looking at right now. In general, when I have a 3-course, I'm always going to favor tee to green more than I normally would, simply because 3 different courses, 3 different styles. Putting can be different each course, each day, and I don't really look at putting much anyways, but I try to look at the overall golfer, how good they're playing over X amount of time, being that it's not just one course I can focus on. There are a lot of par 5s on these 3 courses combined. I think it's 14, maybe 12 or 14. So I'm looking at par 5 scoring, looking at ball striking, of course, approach. Our stat on the PGA Research Center, good approach, and we define that in there. You want to check it out. Around the green, and then scoring opportunities inside 18 feet are kind of where I'm at right now. It looks like since 2016, we got about 32 guys that haven't played this in the field of the 156. So not a ton, but there's some on there. I'll note them on the rankings when those come out. Range numbers kind of back to where we were prior to last week. You got 5 guys in 10K, 7 guys in 9K, 10 guys in 8K, 36 guys in 7K, and 98 guys in 6K. So definitely a ton. So you got 134 that are 7,900 or less out of the 156. So it's definitely slim pickings up top to, figure out who you want in there. And then obviously pretty heavy down bottom where we'll be spread out again, like we've been pretty much every week except for last week. If you're new, I go, my breakdown's Dirty Dozen. We go 4 tiers. First tier is 9K or above. Second tier is 7,600 to 8,900. Third tier is 7,500 or less. And fourth tier is a flop, a fade, or a sleeper. I'll get into what that means exactly when we get down there. And then I do a little roundtable roundup of guys that, or roundtable wrap up of guys that, kind of right on the bubble of all that and just right outside, especially since it's solo pod. Give you a few more names that are kind of right on the bubble for me outside of these. Kicking it off with the 9K. I like DJ. I mean, it's really just going to be a matter of, do you feel like jamming them in, or there's so many options down the 6K. I think you could see a lot of DJ. He's had great history, obviously, here, a second, a third, a fourth, a couple wins way back. Last year was a T45, and a few years ago, T41. He finished second last week overseas, so you got to think form is okay or good enough there. If I remember correctly, I think Wayne didn't play with him last year, and I can't remember that for sure. And I want to say, I looked right before I came on. I couldn't get it all nailed down, but I think he may have had one of the not great draws when it came to the whole heat map deal last year. I'll confirm that by Wednesday. But, I mean, if you play him, you play him, right? I'm probably leaning that way. I like Cantley as well. He's my number 2. So there's 2 options there. I could see a lot of guys going Cantley. I really think Casey and Day will be pretty popular overall. Day's one I don't mind. He's just so, such a great history here. Last 5 years, a 4th, 11th, a 5th, a 2nd, and a 4th. So it's hard not to play him. And he played 2 weeks ago and actually played pretty decent, even though he mentioned that he'd been rusty, hadn't played much, hadn't even hit ball. He'd been on like a hitting count leading up to the week before, and he still finished T16. So, don't mind him at all. And then Patrick Cantley's the one I mentioned that I'm going to go with right now. Hadn't played in the U.S. since the Tournament of Champions, but definitely went overseas. And then he didn't play here last year, but the 2 years before it, he did make the cut, T48, T35. So I don't mind Cantley. And I think you could even maybe do a DJ Cantley and take some risk, especially a week like this, if that was something you want to get into, or maybe Cantley Day, Cantley, Casey. I do think Casey will probably be the highest owned by far, in my opinion, just where he's coming in at and most the salary savings you get there. If he's not, then that, and Cantley winds up being about even with him, then that would make me want to go elsewhere, because I'm thinking Cantley because of the ownership leverage more than anything over Casey. And then last is Hovland for me, Victor. I like Victor a lot, right at 9,100. Has not played this event, and he's coming off the miscut last week, which I think may not be the worst thing in the world. Stat wise, he's number 1 in my model, and he's going to be, he's, for what he's got in on the tour already, he's going to be up there for a while. The only thing he really doesn't look great in is around the green, but other than that, he's right up there, 1-1, 3-1, 21. So like Hovland this week, I'm interested to see if he gets talked up at 9,100. Drop down to the second tier, 7,600 to 8,900. I like Knox out the gate. Been on him a few weeks, talked about him quite a bit. I may even have bet on him last week. I don't know if I can get there this week at 40-1, but the 8,600 number I think is a good price for him. 4 straight made cuts for him, 32nd, 37th, a 21st, a 16th. And then last 2 years here, a 15th and a 14th. So I like it. He's played. He did miss a cut in 16, but I like Knox at that number. Maybe could be popular this week. I'm not sure. He's kind of some weeks he kind of goes on the radar completely. Some he's up there, a little bit of a price increase. So interested to see where that shakes out by Wednesday. Tom Hoagie, 7,900 is 5th in my model overall right now. 4 straight made cuts. I love the form. A 12th, a 6th, a 5th, and a 25th last week. He looked good. So I think Saturday had a great round. Sunday fell back a little bit. A weird history here. He's got 3 missed cuts and then a 39th and a 41st right in the middle. I guess more than anything, I like that he keeps coming back even after he's missed the cuts. So I don't think he hates the environment or anything. I think it just depends on the kind of form he's in. I would think, without doing my deep dive yet, that this is some of the best form he's been coming into this tournament. So good form going. Plus, he's very familiar with how it's going to roll. So at 7,900, I like Hoagie. RCB coming over from Euro, first time this year on the PGA Tour, rounds out my top 3 here. Played it 2 years in a row, a T22 and a T26, 18th in my stat model overall. He'll get a little manual adjustment for me based on his Euro results. Don't know if he'll be super popular here or not, especially in the $5. Probably not. Maybe some of, contests with single 1 to 3 max, maybe a little more because, guys are more familiar with Euro may play in something like that where your general public, like the $5, he'll be less, but we'll see where he comes in at. I definitely like RCB this week to round out that $7,600 to $8,900 range. Third tier, it's 7,500 or less. I like go back to Zing Zhang Zhang, which probably means he's gonna miss the cut because I rode him hard all in the fall. Then got back, and then I got off him for a little bit, then got right back to him, missed a cut at Sony, missed a cut at American Express. Got off him and he went T55, T25 at the Farmers and Waste last week. Charged hard on the weekend, after making the cut. So I like that he finished strong. His game, I think, would suit this course well. And I like that he did play here. I didn't think he would have played here 2 years ago. So at least he's somewhat familiar with that. $7,200 seems like a great price. So I like Zhang. My second is Jimmy Walker. Like I mentioned, he fell off a little Sunday, but's made 3 of his last 4 cuts. Not a huge price increase yet, $7,200, which I'm surprised because he's got pretty good history here. 21st, 11th, 55th, and 8th, and then a miscut last year. And like I said, until I look at the weather draws from last year, and even looking at him, I don't know how much going to factor it, but I do like the 4 make cuts before that, and he seems pretty familiar around the course. And at $7,200, that seems like a really good price for Walker. Could be talked up a little bit. Obviously I hadn't listened to anything yet in the industry, but normally start that Tuesday morning. But we'll see if he's catching radars again. He kind of looked really good going into Sunday, I believe, and then kind of fell apart there. Last time I'm going to go back to Damon. He withdrew last week Sunday. He actually got sick Thursday afternoon, I believe, and talking with his camp, and but fought through it, made the cut miraculously. And he was in one of my lineups, went eagle birdie, eagle 17 and birdie at 18. Watched that, and that was amazing to have him make it on a number like that. Made it right at -1, if I remember right, with the eagle birdie finish. So but couldn't gut it out to finish Sunday, so withdrew. I think he's going to be fine. I think it's nothing more than just kind of a sickness. We can monitor it though, but 7,100. I like where he's coming in stat wise and kind of his form outside of last week. But remember, he was playing well and just couldn't finish Sunday. I say well, he's playing okay, and 7,100, especially in an event like this, I just need cut makers. He has played this twice, and he got a 48th and a 55th. So again, cut makers, used to it. Kind of fitting that pedigree for me this week. So I like Damon. Last one's a flop, fade, and a sleeper. Flop is someone I don't think will return value. Fade is someone I could be fading because of ownership, course history, whatever. And then a sleeper kind of changed this. It's not my favorite play under 69. It's one that I think may not get talked up much. Obviously, I'm going to like Zhang. I'm going to like Redmond and those guys, but it's a guy that's kind of mixed there. He's under 69 plus, maybe less on the radar, a little less ownership, if you will, in the 6,000, which is just going to be so spread out that really won't matter. And this guy may be starting to get talked up. We've been on him a few weeks now. We'll see. But my flop is GMAC. I think I don't mind him, and certainly he won last week beating DJ. I just don't know if I want to pay the price for him there. I'd rather almost go Grace if I'm going to pay that price than GMAC here, although GMAC has a great history as well. So I get it. I get the whole price. I just don't know if I want to go there for I think he's 9,200 or something like that. 9,200. He's done okay here. He missed a cut in 18 and a T18 and 19. Obviously won U.S. Open, I believe, U.S. Open, I believe, on when it was different conditions, of course, many years ago. But he's made 2 cuts. His form's looking well, especially when you factor in Euro. Obviously, he won last week. So nothing against him. I just kind of think he could be a fade flop. I don't know how much he's getting talked up. I guess if by Wednesday everybody's kind of going, I don't want him off the win. Certainly worth a leverage spot, but the 9,200 really just kind of stuck out to me. Like, man, do I really want to pay 9,200 on him? I'd almost drop back to Speed at 9,000, who I don't know if we're back to him being owned a little more. or like I mentioned, Brennan Grace, who Grace may get talked up as well, but those are kind of guys I'm right there in that park. But I'm gonna go with the flop on GMAC this week. My fade's gonna be Snedeker. He kind of got talked up a little bit last week, missed a cut, which normally I wouldn't fade him because this would be a good spot to bounce back. Good history here. Obviously, he has one here. He's got a top 35, a fourth, and a top 20 in the last 4 years. So pretty good history. I think he'll be talked up with Casey. Kind of Casey Day Sneds. They could all be mixed and matched, especially if you drop down low. And out of those, I think you got to find one of them to go way low owned on or fade completely. And I think I'm going to go with Sneds of that group. I think I'd play Day and Casey over them. So Snedeker's is my fade this week out of those, and they're all kind of right there close to me. That I think you just have to pick one, and he's my one this week. Sleeper, who I think he's a 2-time sleeper now this year. I was on him a few weeks ago, and I haven't really jumped off. But Brandon Wu, and he made the cut there at the Farmers. He was doing really well and kind of fell back, but still finished T55. I think he scored a little bit better in his finishing position. He hasn't played this, but he did play and played well in the U.S. Open last year at Pebble. So I do like that. And price 6,900, again, just need cut makers. And I like where his game is in general with that and with what we've seen from him. And, you know, right there with those other guys that I like, but he's the one that maybe isn't quite on everybody's radar as of yet. You know, he's got the same kind of pedigree as Hovland and those guys. So I think he can show up and do well in something like this. So I like Brandon Wu as my sleeper. Kind of wrap up, is start with Paul Casey. Like I mentioned, I'm just going to watch ownership there. I think he'll be somewhat chalky in the industry. Perfect position for him. He's second here last year and 8th and 18. So I can't see anybody reason not being off him, but he's one I want to keep an eye on. Lucas Glover is a guy I like this week, $7,600. He's got an 11th and a 7th. He's played 2 of the last 4 years, and those were great finishes. A 49th at Farmers. I did miss a cut at the Amex, but 7,600, I don't mind him at that price, and kind of maybe not being, when Glover gets chalky, I don't like a chalky Glover, but I do like him if he's just going to be mid-range. Cameron Champ, 8,800, 28th here last year, so I like that he's played it at least once. Really good form coming in, a 14th, a 21st, and a 16th. So $8,800. Maybe if I'm dropping down a little bit to get out of that big price range, I could start with a low 9 in him and really build well, or, like a Hovland Champ, and then go with one of the guys up top and then see what you can fit in. So I like what you could do with that number. Noren, another guy like RCB coming over from Euro. He did play in the Sony and Amex 32nd and 14th. So form coming back around 8,700 may get overlooked there. I'm interested to see where the Champ Noren, like where that goes since they're so close in price. But, Knox is right there at 86. So the 8s are kind of loaded, and the 8s have returned well. They've been their best returning value in DFS as a whole this year. And it's not real close. I haven't brought in the waste management results to my deal. And I think I'm actually going to post that now this week because I have enough data. I may post on Twitter or for the community or both, obviously. So I don't mind Noren there. Day I mentioned, so he's right there with Casey, going to watch ownership. Certainly don't mind playing him. Adam Hadwin's another guy in the wrap-up that I like. An 18th and a 39th here. Decent in form, good in the stat model. A 40th last week. So, he hadn't played much before that, but I like that he played last week as well. Pat Perez kind of caught me off guard. I didn't really picture him here, but he's got pretty good history. A 4th, a 41st, a 14th, and a 35th. He did miss a cut last year. He's got 2 mid cuts at the Sony and Farmers, 7,500. Pretty good price for Perez this week. So his attitude seems to be kind of a carefree anyway. So I think he could. Obviously, he's done well in time he's played here, except for last year. So I don't mind Perez. Fitzpatrick, I assume, will be the most talked up Euro of like RCB, Noren, him. Obviously, Barros Boy. He missed the cut here last year. He's only played on the Euro as of recent, so we really got to look at that. 9,700 though, I'll be interested to see if he's going to still get talked up at that price. I like other options at the price mark, but he's definitely on my radar. Scott Stallings caught my eye. Has a pretty good history here, which I like. I mean, it's just kind of a common theme is when I'm looking for these player pool fillers, I'm gonna look for history. recent form and then just generalized stats as the overall, where just solid, not something that's too strong and not. And at 7,600, that's just kind of what you're looking for. 3 straight years, he's got a 14th, a 7th, and a 3rd here. So I really like him. I have him marked as a potential chalk watch. I think at 7,600, a lot of guys could follow him, especially with that course history here, course fit. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'm in some Woo already. Doc, I'm in on most any week. Definitely a FOMO bet, but stat-wise, he's always going to pop, especially in this kind of model where I'm just strictly looking at tee to green. He does well. He does have 3 straight made cuts. I like that. He played well last week. Got to watch him. It was a little exciting. A T34 last week, T64, and a T29 before that. So I like that in general. I don't know his personality well enough to know if the Pro-Am would sway him anyway, but I mean, at 6,700, I think he's good enough to make the cut for sure. So I don't mind Redmond. Adam Long, kind of my second to last. Got 2 more guys here that I just want to throw out. He missed a cut here last year, but at least he's played it. He does have mixed results coming in. He had an 8th last week, a 23rd at Tournament Champion, then 2 missed cuts in between at the Amex and Sony. But 7,300 in general, I think his game fits her, decently well. That maybe a low-owned 7K guy, when you get around a lot of those chalky guys that will be in that area, he may be a guy that kind of sticks out as leverage play when you're trying to fit people in. He's right around Jimmy Walker, Damon, some of the guys already mentioned, Zhang, 72. So he may be a pivot off of that range at 7,300. Lefty, that's going to be an interesting one this week. Generally, off him and any stat model you run and any kind of recency is not going to show much for him. 2 missed cuts in a row at Farmers and Amex, but he did do well last week. I think he wound up finishing T5, 9,500. I think most won't want to pay up onto that. Could be a little higher owned at the $5 entry, the big GPP than most because of public. And then last 4 years, he's got a 2nd, a 65th, a 2nd, a 1st. Obviously defending champion this week. So don't know where I'm going to go there. That's definitely going to be wait and see, get the pulse of the industry, and several of those guys that I've mentioned around the 91 to 9,600. You kind of got to see where it shakes out to where you can get some leverage in that zone. It could wind up being Phil. I'm not real comfortable going there, but he loves this place, so I don't mind it if he's going to be 6, 7, 8% or something like that. So he kind of rounds up the guys to keep an eye on that didn't fit the tiers this week. On overall weekly strategy this week, just like 2 weeks ago, right? Rinse and repeat. I'm going a little lighter. I'll have more showdown than normal because we can get some advantages with the courses, course rotation, spread out the player pool. The weather and course draw will, be another factor to kind of take in. We'll kind of feed that all to you as we get to Wednesday. But in general, it's kind of just like we were at the Pro-Am a few weeks ago. I'm definitely not going all in this week. There's too many variables. Like I said, you could have 95 guys or something miss the cut. So definitely want to give yourself some bullets and some chances, spreading out down low in that 6,000, 7,000. You may do a little bump to your player pool this week like we did before, just because you're just trying to get 6 to 6 here on Sunday and give yourself a chance and just see where the chips might fall. Especially with 60 guys, you probably have pretty tight from first to the cut number, so anybody can make a move there. So that's kind of the strategy of the week. The bookmarks of the week for me last week: 3 guys. Homa, I like that he seems to be contending at different tracks and showing up on leaderboards. Certainly, fan of ours. We followed him. We donated to his deal last year when he was here at the Valero. But keep my eye on him. Berger really coming back into form. It's one guy I hadn't mentioned. He's 8,900, right there in that 8,000 sweet zone I talked about earlier. Going to keep an eye on him and his ownership this week. I'm certainly not moving him outside the pool yet. I got him square on my radar. He played here in 15 and hadn't played since. He got a T10. Last 3 weeks out, he's got a 38th, a 29th, and a 9th. That's Sony, American, and Waste last week. Obviously played well last week at the Waste. So interested to kind of see where he fits the week of the, not chalkiness, or just where he's at all the way around. Could be a potential bet also, 40 to 1, maybe. I don't know if I like that number, but when you start looking at the field, some of these numbers, they are what they are and they look decent. But right now I could pivot to Champ off of him if he's going to be chalky, if Berger is, but definitely a guy to keep our eyes on in general, not only this week, but more going forward is kind of what the bookmark section's about. And then last Matsu, I just think same as most weeks. He just seems to be off here a little there, but he just continues to contend to be right there, kind of like DJ, right? I kind of read some stuff and read the reviews of the rounds, and if you just read the review, you would thought he may be top 30 last week based on just how people said he putted and played in general, and so he plays average by most accounts, and he finishes second, right? And so obviously the field's wasn't super strong. But Matsu's one I think is going to pop at some point. I think when he does, I think he's going to go on a pretty, I'm not going to say he's going to win multiple times this year, but I think he could hit a good stretch where everything clicks and he just goes on a run. So just someone to keep an eye on as well as we move throughout the season. The betting segment of the week, if you're new, I do 2 to 3 in each kind of bracketed area. 50 to 1 is our first one. I like Knox and Hovland at their numbers right now in this range. The card's going to be interesting. Like I mentioned, you can take some advantages on the live betting deal, but I definitely don't mind those numbers. Lean a little bit better on Knox. Next range up to 80 to 1. I like RCB and Perez. I mentioned Perez earlier. I think that's a pretty good number for him, depending on how his rotation falls. And I only look at that to go, okay, do I have a chance of getting a better number because he may start here, then catch fire or whatnot. But just straight up out the gate, I like RCB and Perez at those ranges this week. Up to 120 from there, I like Damon and Walker. I obviously mentioned the reasons on that already. Dark horse this week. I like 3 guys right now, but I may have like 4 or 5 of these guys. Like go. I mean, I can spread small unit sizes on these guys. Get those in now, and then we'll save for one of these top elite or more elite golfers or higher ceiling golfers that may get the right rotation and climb the leaderboard real quick, or guys go out and get off early and then their numbers doesn't equalize, and we could get some of those. But these 250, 300 ones, you might as well lock them in now. That's already great value. But Redmond, Zhang, and Wu, no surprise there. Those are the 3 that I like at the over 120 for the dark horse this week. One and done strategy. I didn't even look up how. I think I don't think if I went Finau or not. I was going back and forth there at the end. Such a crazy week. I'll see if I can pull it up real quick while we're going. But my favorite kind of best guy, if you will, is Cantley or Day. I think Day will probably be more popular, but Day was used a little bit ago. I can't remember which tournament it was for sure, but he's already been used a little bit. So I don't mind going Cantley. I don't mind going Day because he may not be as popular, especially with some of the guys in the field. So I had Bryson. That's right. I went on Bryson at the end, which he made the cut, but nothing great there. I'm not doing very good, so far in the one and done at all this year. Last year I started out really good, but obviously Bryson on the weekend, like Saturday, he looked horrible. And just couldn't get it together. Several webs last week, not a ton, but there were a pretty decent amount. Well, there probably was a ton. I didn't even look at the leaderboard, but there's a lot up there on the top right now. The leader overall, there's a 2-way tie. They got one had Corey Connors, one had CH3 at the Sony Open, then they both had Answer, Rahm, and Webb. So good to those guys. Strong starts there. My mid floor play, kind of mid-pack guy I like this week would be like a Hovland, Knox, RCB. I think those guys all got high top 10 potential and not way up there where you could get, DJ, Cantley, Day, Casey. Casey will probably be pretty strong, played one and done this week. So these are that next tier that I just kind of go, feel safe with their floor. You never know, right? It's golf, but and maybe not outside that. Maybe you get them less than 3 figures, less than 100 people owning them type of guys what I'm looking at. A skins play, try, we've had 1 this year, which is pretty cool. Who knows if we get another one or not, but certainly will be viable. There'll be times that no one or one person will own them for sure. Just a matter of, does it fit right? But maybe Champ. I don't know if anybody really goes there this week. A Norin could be a good one. And then Hadwin kind of caught my eye. And then Perez was one. And I'd kind of gauge ownership and what you hear in the industry to see if there's like a certain play. If this is the week you decide to go skin method, which I don't mind it because it's kind of a circus type of event with 3 courses again. So why not take a try here? And especially one that has had some long shots come and win on Sunday, Potter and points and stuff. So not the worst idea this week if you choose to do that, especially if you're, like me. I may be like, I'm out of the first segment, so I'll save some of my bigger guys. Doesn't mean you have to get crazy, but I'm gonna go. I may try to find one guy that I think, man, this guy could really top 20, if not better, and has a chance to win it. That nobody will be on. Maybe I try to make that play this week. That's just one option you could do, and those are 3 guys I liked. Question and answer. I'm going to kind of get into Wednesday a little more as we get more information gathered for the tournament. I think that'll be a better time to do it. I've already kind of answered the strategy part for this week, being a Pro-Am again, a rotation type course. So I didn't want to blow some of those questions you guys had sent in on this tournament. So definitely we'll do some on the week and then back on that segment next week. As always, join Tambo and myself Wednesday night, 8 o'clock for, I think we'll probably go 8:30 East E9 because we won't have any NFL pod right now. So I'll update that moving forward once I confirm with JB and Tambo. But probably 8:30 Eastern Wednesday night for the Emergency 9, premium members only. So check that out. Be sure to check out gupscorner.com/store, as I mentioned. And then if you're not a member yet, use the code SMASH10 for 10% off. No real final thoughts this week. Obviously, I think most have been waiting for the announcement of the winner. I just want to make sure I get his name correct. I know he's in Slack, but I don't know if his name is the same. But on Twitter, it is JNewMZ at Johnny NewMZ34 is the winner of the Honda DFS giveaway. He's pretty active, so I expect him to reach out to me shortly. Don't get too upset if you're not it, because obviously we're like 3 weeks away from this deal, so you never know if people can go or not. I'm going to give him at least till tomorrow to get in touch with me. And if he confirms, then I'll let everybody know in the Slack or whatnot, and I'll talk about it Wednesday. If he can't go, I still have the database set up. We'll re-plug it, and we'll go until we find someone. We need to find them sooner or later so we can get, have them get their flights booked that we're going to obviously reimburse them and stuff. But congrats to Johnny. I know he's very active overall. He had, I want to say, I think he had, I was trying to add it all up. I think he had 6 tickets, maybe he did get all 7, but he had the iTunes review, he had the subscription. He had it all, and very active in Slack as well. So good guy. Hopefully he can go. But if not, pay attention. If he doesn't confirm, I'll let the Slack know immediately, and that I'll be pushing that redraw. Obviously, I'll do it tonight if I can, if I hear from him, but I'm going to spend some time with the family. So I'll update that. If he does wind up going, I'll let you guys know that as well. And we look forward to him joining us live at the Honda. It's going to be a great time. Most of the team's going to be down there. We met several of you guys out at the tournament over the weekend. It was awesome. The Waste is a little harder to meet up with people because it's kind of hard to coordinate that with the crowds moving. But obviously, we'll be able to see more people at the Honda because it's a planned deal to do that. But even if you're not part of the DFS and all that, DFS Open and all that, be sure to reach out to us because it's easier to meet up in spots and locations at the Honda than it is at the Waste. So if we didn't get to you or we missed meeting up, don't take it personal. We definitely try to meet everybody at every tournament we go to. So it was an awesome time, an awesome week. Congrats, Johnny. In general, I'm going to go see the family, get some rest. You guys do the same. Have a great week. For JB behind the mic and myself, we will see you Wednesday night, 8:30 Eastern for the E9. Have a good night.
SmashFactor.